Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. I'm here today with Sverre Helno, the managing director of Moller Bil. It's a car dealership group in Norway with more than 71 dealerships. And Sverre is going to be one of the keynote speakers at this year's CADA Summit. So Sverre, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for letting me.
We're really keen to hear about your experience. We know that in Norway, the adoption rate of EVs is off the charts, way ahead of where we are. 86% is the one number that I saw recently. And Canada in the same time period is around 5%. So you're miles ahead of us. And we're really keen to hear about your experiences running car dealerships and groups, making that transition, because in a way you're the future of what we're going to face. So the first question I have for you is really on the consumer adoption side of it, because obviously the dealers will respond to the consumer demand of the vehicles people want, but it's not really anywhere near that level over here. What do you think led to that rapid adoption of EV adoption amongst consumers?
Yeah, I think EVs are hitting us. Norway has no own car production, so traditionally cars have been extremely expensive in Norway. The EVs were actually sold without any VAT, any tax, any customs, so they became much cheaper. So you could get a Tesla S at a price below BMW X3. So the pricing and a lot of advantages like free parking in the cities. You could drive in the bus lane, so you didn't have any queue in the mornings and in the afternoons. So we had a lot of advantages buying electric cars. And of course, sustainability and environmental issues also, it's the reason why the government gave these advantages, but that's also a big concern about consumers. So now I think, yeah, the total market was about 80% in 22, but for our brands, it was about 95%. So it's we are more or less fully electric.
It's an important message because we've seen similar patterns in Canada where the Ontario government, for instance, had an EV incentive plan in place where they're subsidizing EVs and the sales were doing great. They scrapped that program and the sales went off. And in governments in Canada and elsewhere trying to encourage this adoption, it's important to look at that role model. So in your countries, really that sales tax, parking, all these other amenities beyond just the vehicle itself really drove consumers to get their first taste of EVs.
Yeah. And also Tesla came early in the Norwegian market and they had the charging stations all over the country. So it was easier to change from ICE to EV.
Now, the other impact that we want to talk about now is really on the dealers, because dealers in Norway, like here, are used to selling ICE vehicles. They're up to speed on the technology, the models, the competitive landscape. They have a lot of knowledge that assists with the sale. How did the dealers, pivot and become, a force or a factor in helping the consumers make that migration to the new technology?
I think in the beginning, a lot of people in the organization were kind of reluctant and a little bit slow moving. I think the first thing you should do is to get yourself an EV. You have to get used to in the beginning, you will experience that as problems. Charging, fear of distance, maybe I don't get to the target. I mean, all those kind of things that most people are facing when they try EVs for the first time. So you really get to use the product, not only know the product, but really use the product yourself, driving long distances, face all those things so that you become a good educator for your customer. And of course, facing new challenges like technicians that have to turn into high voltage experts, high voltage technicians. Of course, there's a huge health risk working with high voltage in the traditional surroundings. So we need to educate our people both on the sales side and also a lot on the technician side and the after sales services side, because it's a totally different business.
The other thing we were chatting earlier just before this interview about that impact on service or after sales. In some cases, obviously, there's a lost revenue and some of the traditional ICE vehicle repairs and maintenance, but maybe it's not exactly the picture that the dealers are fearing. What have you found so far as your dealerships look after that side of the business?
We were actually told that we would face a drop of 40%. in the need for after sales service per car. That's not what we have learned. We see a drop, but not in that not to that extent. One of the first things that goes away is the sale of motor oil. That used to be a big part of our, at least our profit. It was probably a little bit overpriced, but we had good margins on motor oil, and that's going totally away. So it hits your top line, it hits your bottom line, and of course it destroys some parts of your business, but it also creates some new parts and some new opportunities. They crash more, they eat rubber, so they need more tires. They need to charge, and probably Canada is not yet fully ready to charge all the cars when they come. So new opportunities, new challenges coming. Yep.
I know I don't want to steal all the thunder from your CADA Summit appearance, and I know you're going to talk about the business opportunities, and we chatted earlier. I don't want to steal too much of that. I think dealers will hear some of that at the summit, but there were lots of opportunities you mentioned earlier as dealers get their head around the business model. But what thing, maybe the last question I have for you would be, what do you think you've learned now after going through it that you would have done differently? Because our dealers would say, with the benefit of 5-6 years into this, I would have changed a few things. So rather than have our Canadian dealers make those same mistakes, maybe you can do them a favor here.
I think start early with embracing the change. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. All the things are coming, so whether you like it or not, be aware of the opportunities coming, because we talk a lot about electrical or EVs, but they also get connected. So connectivity is a game changer. And they are also highly digitalized, so they push kind of the digital shift in the car industry. So we will see new distribution channels, new ways of buying, new ways of owning. So to take a part into that. And as I told you, first billionaire in Norway on home charging systems. If I was to do one thing better or over again, I would take a bigger part in. We do take a part in subscription. We do take a part in car sharing. We did not take a part in home charging, and that definitely is something I would have done differently. Start early, educating people. Start early. Yeah, I think that's also to try to understand how the digital shift is hitting into the automotive, how it changes the customer journey, how it changes the customer touch points, how it can change and improve the efficiency of your own business, and also be aware of the aggregators and the new players coming in from the digital side into our business.
Well, that's a lot of information, and it's great. It's a great teaser for the in-person version of the summit that's happening in February 15th. And I look forward to meeting you and interviewing there on site, and we'll have a chance to connect. And I look forward to seeing your full presentation. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for letting me. I'm looking forward to myself. It's always it's super interesting story, and I'm looking forward to share it with you.
Well, thanks again. Okay. Signing off.